One part of being an adult is understanding that everything changes. The seasons, your friends, the culture, are the Star Wars prequels good or not? All change over time. And as adults, we should be able to reflect and understand how those changes occurred. Just look at anime, for example. Anime has changed a lot over the years. From Speed Racer and Astro Boy to Demon Slayer and MHA, the landscape of anime never stops changing. Today we're going to go over how My Hero Academia has changed, from its explosion in popularity to its fall from grace and even its current comeback. When My Hero Academia first aired, it was seen as the beginning of a new era for anime. And even though that was kinda right, it fell by the wayside eventually. For the first few seasons of My Hero Academia, it was everywhere. The memes were fire and the merch flowed out of Hot Topic like water. I remember when I was first introduced to My Hero Academia, someone was comparing it to Naruto, but before the power scaling went crazy. Oh, you gotta watch it. It's like Naruto, but with superheroes. The sports festival is like the tuning exams. And at the time, it really did feel like the second coming of Naruto. That was until a new anime came out, and that anime completely changed the landscape again. That anime was Demon Slayer. It's not just that Demon Slayer was popular, but it also created a whole new standard of animation for anime. And even though My Hero Academia did look good, it could not even hold a candle to Demon Slayer. With that being said, Demon Slayer alone did not make My Hero Academia less popular. One does not need to be the best looking anime to be on top. What happened is most of the industry adjusted for what Demon Slayer did, while My Hero Academia stayed the same. Even One Piece, an anime that has been running for multiple decades, recognized that they needed to up the ante when it came to their animation. That, in combination with My Hero Academia having two arcs that did not land well with audiences, led to My Hero Academia feeling like an afterthought. Those two arcs would be Class 1A versus Class 1B and My Villain Academia arcs. Many people did not enjoy Class 1A versus Class 1B because it felt mostly like filler, other than the reveal that Deku can use multiple quirks, which they also did not like. I believe the reason why Horikoshi gave Deku more quirks is because One For All was becoming stale as a power, and there was still a lot of story left. By the time Class 1A versus Class 1B rolls around, Deku has already made One For All his own and has done every creative thing you could possibly do with super strength without being literally Superman. The problem isn't the quirks. The problem is Horikoshi wasn't given enough time to develop these powers for Deku, and even though they are cool, they feel rushed and out of nowhere. Then we get the second arc that led to a lot of people dropping off, and that's the My Villain Academia arc, which attempts to try to make all the villains that we have met up to this point more sympathetic. And despite the fan backlash, I actually believe Horikoshi pulls this off really well. The purpose of this arc is to make the villains sympathetic before the heroes have to fight them in the upcoming war arc. I would say he's most successful with Toga and Twice, with an honorable mention going to Dabi. Most of Dabi's backstory happens later on in the series, but it starts here. The interesting thing about Toga and Twice is that their quirks represent real-life mental illnesses that people actually struggle with. They're played up to a cartoonish degree, but nevertheless, people do struggle with these types of things. And that's a big theme throughout My Hero Academia. People with less desirable quirks tend to be shunned by society, leading them to act out. But the problem with this arc, outside of content from the manga, is that Horikoshi wasn't successful at making Dabi sympathetic. Normally, when a writer tries to write a sympathetic villain, they try to make them likable or sympathetic from the start, and Shigaraki is neither of those things. Marvel did the easy way, where they introduced Thanos as a sympathetic character so you'd be more attached to him in Endgame. Shigaraki was introduced as a try-hard emo boy and then depicted as a sympathetic character. And keep in mind that this arc is trying to convince you that all the other villains are also sympathetic characters. The fact that Horikoshi was successful at all speaks volumes of his writing. But regardless, people tuned out during the My Villain arc because the focus was on characters that we were taught to dislike during most of the series. But before we talk about My Hero Academia's comeback, let's talk about my friends at Hollow Games. Are you like Bakugo, where you like to destroy the competition? Well, check out Hollow Games, where you can pick up some really powerful trading cards. Or maybe you're like Deku and you just want to make some friends. Check out Hollow Games event calendar, where you can see all their upcoming social events. No matter if you're a Deku or a Bakugo, Hollow Games has you covered. Link is down in the description. Now back to the video. As the series went on past the My Villain arc, fans started slowly coming back. This is because the series went back to focusing on our main cast of characters that we've been following for so long, but kept important plot points from the My Villain arc. So the series could not go back to what it was before because it had fundamentally changed from the My Villain arc. But I would argue that's a good thing. Let's talk about Toga, for example. Toga started out as this quirky psychopath that was obsessed with blood, almost like a poor man's Harley Quinn. But now she's a three-dimensional character that really does care about people, but is unable to show that affection in a healthy way. And another character that has changed a lot throughout the series is Endeavor and his relationship with his entire family. Endeavor started out as just a generic bad father, but now people are having meaningful conversations on can he be redeemed or not. Finally, let's go over how Deku has changed, because Deku's change in character development has represented the series as a whole. Just like all the other characters that I've talked about, Deku started out very simple with a very black and white ideology. At the beginning of the series, Deku only saw people as either heroes, villains, or people that needed saving. That's it, there was no gray area. But as the series goes on, he realizes that not all heroes are heroes and not all villains are villains. Although All Might is a great mentor, it's Stain that makes Midoriya start seeing the world for what it actually is. By the time we get to where we are in the anime, Deku no longer sees Shigaraki as someone to defeat, but instead someone to save. At the end of the day, My Hero Academia still has problems like its animation, but Horikoshi's writing outweighs it by a country mile. His ability to pivot when necessary is unmatched by anyone in anime or manga. But don't forget to subscribe. I post a new anime video every week. Can't wait to see you next time, my fellow shinobi.